أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون. كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقوا فيها بردا ولا شرقا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتها كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافرون يا ليتني كنت ترابا. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us tonight for these Muharram lecture series presented by Hussain Youth. We kindly ask you to follow us for up-to-date information on our programs and events through our Instagram page as well as WhatsApp group chat. Please note that the lectures are available after the end of the program on our YouTube channel. Without further ado, please welcome the Sheikh with a loud salawat.
And the last one for the love of Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman in your loudest voices. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا حبيب الله صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء يا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. Let's begin the majlis for tonight with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad for the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Let's have another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad for the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the last salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad for the love of Abi Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam in your loudest voices. From the beginning of time, from the beginning of when human beings started to understand the world and tried to understand that the environment that they were living in, you found that they were constantly faced with an enigma. That enigma, my brothers and sisters, is how to reconcile between this world and the spiritual realm. How to reconcile between living in a world that constantly asks you to thrive and grow and the spiritual realm that tells you to focus on spiritual elevations and finding a place where you are comfortable in your relationship with this almighty being called God. And so you found human beings tried their utmost best to answer the question, whether that question was answered through religious understanding, philosophy, or any other type of ideology or method of acquiring that ideology there is. You always found that human beings had that question and tried to answer that question. And so you found that religions were developed and created on the basis of trying to answer this question. For example, Buddhism, my brothers and sisters, was founded on the idea of how should I live in this world? When a king or a prince walked through the city, found a poor man, an old man, and a sick man, and when he saw the suffering in the world, he asked himself, how should I live in this world? As a spiritual being, how should I be living in the world where the world around me is made for my destruction, made to destroy me? How is it that I'm supposed to find spiritual elevation in a world that tries to suck me into its traps and make me delirious of the reality that I'm living in? And that is that I'm going to leave this world at one point in time. How do I reconcile this idea that I must live and thrive for success in this world, whether that success may be financial success, social success, success in my education, but at the same time, find spiritual success? This enigma, this puzzle, my brothers and sisters, is one that human beings have been trying to answer from the beginning of time and up until today. Up until today, many religious ideas, sects, come forward and present their solution to the problem. You found that human beings took one of two understanding or one of two sides to this issue. You found that some went to the alt-right and came forward and said that in this world, there's no guidelines, there's no restrictions. You don't have to act in a way that is specific to your religion. Rather, religion and your spiritual elevation is only dependent on what you believe in. Only dependent on what you believe in. And some Sufi sects, Islamic Sufi sects, some Sufi groups believe in this idea that your task in this world is merely to believe, accumulate the riches of the world, live a lavish lifestyle, live however you want to live and however you like to live. And your only obligation is to believe in God. This is one idea. Then you have the alt left, as they say, and they come forward and they say, no. The way that a person reaches spiritual elevation, spiritual heights in this world, is to denounce and renounce the world altogether and not to live in the world a life that is comfortable. Rather, the only way for a person to strip away from the world is to leave the world altogether. The only way that a person can elevate themselves spiritually is not to live in the world. Almost live on top of the world, at the edge of the world. Take from the world the only means of survival. Don't live in a house. Be a monk on the streets. Essentially, the way to get to Allah is to strip yourself from the world totally and not to live in the world in any comfortable state whatsoever. You find that the first one, the alt-right, where they say, don't worry about anything, live as you'd like, is the minority. The major minority, and the very small percentage of religious people believe in this idea. As for the alt-left, you find that it's a common theme amongst many religions, not just Abrahamic faiths, Non-Abrahamic faiths also come forward and present this idea. For example, in Hinduism, there are traditions that indicate that a person, after they have bought their home and they've retired and they are starting to grow old, their last phase of their life, the fourth phase, as they say in their life, is the phase of sannyasa, which means what? Which means to renounce and denounce the entire world and become a monk, to give away your possessions, or at least leave your possessions, leave your home, and walk on the streets and live as a monk. And this is how you spiritually elevate. And they say that Mahatma Gandhi was following a path, a lifestyle that is very similar to this. Jamil. This is Hinduism, so non-Abrahamic. You come forward and say this idea is in Abrahamic faiths. I'll tell you, don't go far. Go to Christianity, book of Matthew, 19:21. What does it say? I'm going to read the passage. It says, and Jesus answered. He was speaking to this young man, or this man that had a lot of wealth. This man wanted to follow Jesus Christ. And so Jesus was coming forward and telling this man, the way that you follow me, the path by which you must take to find spiritual elevation and spiritual enlightenment is to do this. Look what he says. He tells him, if you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. It's as if Jesus Christ in this ayah, or this verse rather, is coming and telling this individual, the way that you follow God, the way that you follow Jesus Christ is in two phases. One must come first before the other. The way you reach spiritual enlightenment comes in two phases. One must be done. One is a prerequisite for the other. One must be done. It's a condition before the other. The first thing that you must do is give away your possessions. Give away what you own. Sell them. Give them all away. And then come and follow me. One has to come before the other. One is a prerequisite before the other. You can't do one without doing the other. So the idea of giving away your wealth and not living in this world, not living a lavish lifestyle or not having a good lifestyle in the world is one that you find even in Abrahamic faiths. You tell me, Tayyib, Islam, I'll tell you Islam. There's a sect in Islam, a Sufi sect called Al-Malamatiyya. The word malama means to blame. These individuals, they live a life of hardship. They put on themselves excessive hardship, and they feel rather, with excessive hardship comes spiritual elevation. So you'll find these people maybe going hungry. You find these people monks that maybe live on the street. You find these people having practices and traditions that inflict harm on themselves, whether that is physical harm or social harms, psychological harm, whatever it may be. So you find that this idea, the left, the extreme, is found even within Islam. طيب, what about Shia Islam? In our understanding of Islam, the Islam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, what do they say about living a lavish lifestyle, being rich, having money, being wealthy? Is being wealthy haram in Islam? In Shia Islam, is having the dunya something wrong? Because let me tell you something. In our communities, especially the first generation, second generation communities, even in the third generation communities, you'll find it. This idea that a religious person must not have the dunya is very prevalent. That for you to be religious, you can't be rich. You can't be rich and religious at the same time. They don't come together for some reason. This idea is there. And frankly, I believe it hinders our community. But I want to answer the question, is being rich hard or wrong in Islam? And I'll tell you that some of us subconsciously believe in this, believe that it's wrong. I'll tell you how. Let me ask you a question and answer honestly the first answer that comes to your mind. Let's say I have a very, very rich person in the community, a billionaire. They have 16 cars. They have a huge mansion. In that mansion, they have marble, they have jewelry, they have everything. The most expensive things they have. They have a very lavish lifestyle. Can you safely tell me that when you look at that person, you look at them the same way as the poor old person that comes to the mosque with the masbaha and sits in the mosque and prays and this and that? Can you say that you can safely say these two have the potential to be at the same level in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Many of us will say no. I can't fathom that this poor old man that's coming to the mosque and praying is at the same level as this person living a very lavish lifestyle. The fact of the matter is, the person living a very lavish lifestyle can be much better than that person and higher in the eyes of God. Or can they? That is the question that we want to answer for tonight, my brothers and sisters. It's a very important question. So stick around with us and we will begin the discussion and the analysis with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muhammad wa alihi. This idea, my brothers and sisters, in our community stems from many things. The fact that we can't reconcile between being rich and being religious stems from many things, my brothers and sisters. But one of the most profound things that it stems from are some of the hadith, where people read the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and misunderstand them, and even misquote them. For example, you have Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha say this. I'm going to read the hadith for the barakah. He says, Ya dunya ghurri ghayri. O dunya, find someone else to trick and deceive. Abi ta'arradti am ilayya tashawwaqti. Do you come to me? Do you miss me? La hanahinuki hayhat ghurri ghayri. Hayhat ghurri ghayri. Far away. Find someone else to deceive. La hajata li fiki. I don't have a need for you, O dunya. قَدْ طَلَّقْتُكِ ثَلَاثًا لَا رَجْعَةً فِيهَا. I have divorced you 3 times, and there's no returning back of you to me. As you know, in Islam, when a man divorces his wife 3 times, she can't come back. Yes? Imam Ali alayhi salam is saying essentially, O dunya, find someone else other than me. Leave me alone. Let me be in this world. Don't come to me. I don't want you. I don't need you. I've divorced you 3 times. I don't want you back. People read these hadiths and they think that we're of the type that say you have to leave the dunya and that's how you elevate spiritually. Similarly, you have another hadith of Imam al-Kadhim speaking to Hisham, one of his companions. He says, Ya Hisham, inna mathala ad-dunya mathala al-hayya. Oh Hisham, the dunya, the world is like a snake. How is it like a snake? مَسُّهَا لَيِّن وَفِي جَوْفِهَا السُّمْ. Touching it is soft. It's a soft snake. When you touch a snake, the skin is very soft, very elegant. But inside it is a poison. And subhanAllah, you find that snakes that are most colorful and decorative, they're the most poisonous. Yes? يَحْذَرُهَا الرَّجُلُ الرِّجَالَ الْعُقَلَاء ذُو الْعُقُولِ. Those that have intellects, they're cautious of it. They're cautious of the snake that's poisonous. But those that are childish, the children, touch it and they don't know the dangers of it. So again, you kind of see the Imam alayhi salam almost speaking down at the dunya, almost saying the way to find spiritual elevation is to run away from the dunya. Run away from the dunya. And so you find that some people can't bring the two together. They can't understand a person that is rich, yet a good Muslim, a person that is elevating spiritually. So then we ask the question, what's the answer? We ask the question, what's the answer? What is the answer to this dogma, to this issue, to this puzzling enigma that we have on our hands? On one end of the spectrum, we have Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam denouncing the dunya. On the other end of the spectrum, we have this world that asks us to strive for it. What do? Here's the answer. The answer is, my brothers and sisters, live in the dunya. Take from the dunya. Advance and grow within the world. No problem. Be rich. No problem. But live in the dunya. Don't let the dunya live in you. I'll give you an example. Listen. Take it as this. Take the world as a lake. And you are a boat in that lake. You are to sit in the lake as the boat, and you are to sit on top of the lake, and you're able to glide along that lake and move through that lake swiftly and nicely, with one condition. If you don't let water into that boat, right when you let water into the boat starts to sink. And when you let in too much water, you're going to lose the boat and it's going to sink inside the world. And ultimately, whoever's on that boat is going to die and drown. The human being must be in the dunya like the boat on the water. Not letting the dunya come inside the boat and allowing them to sink. When we allow the dunya to control us, my brothers and sisters, when we allow the world to control us and live within us and become the controlling factor that allows us and makes us make the decisions that we have, and according to what the dunya asks of us and asks of me, I make my decisions, that's where I've drowned in the dunya. But if I allow myself to make the decisions and act in accordance to the restrictions, or the guidelines rather, not restrictions, the guidelines that Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, Islam gave us, then you're allowed to flourish in the dunya. The boat, my brothers and sisters, is not made just to sit in the lake. It's made to glide through the lake. It's made to reach a goal that the lake is providing, whether that's an island, whether that's fish, whatever it is. The human being is not here just to sit in the dunya and wait it out. We are here to flourish in the dunya. We are here to take from this world and advance ourselves using this world. Take the world and allow us to flourish within the world. To flourish within the world. And that's why the hadith, my brothers and sisters, come forward and say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to see the blessings that He has provided to the human being being shown by the human being. Is it wrong to have a nice car? No. Is it wrong to have money? No. Is it allowed? Absolutely. Should we? Yes. Here's the point of my lecture from the brothers in Montreal and the sisters in Montreal, the brothers in Toronto, sisters in Toronto. Please listen. This is the point of my lecture here today. If you want to take anything with you, take this. It's one thing to say it's not wrong to have the dunya. Then it's another thing to say that we should strive to have money, that we should strive to be successful in this community. It's one thing to say it's allowed, and it's another thing to say that we should. I'm coming in making another claim. I'm going to go further. I'm going to say that we have to. As people in this community, as members of our communities, we must strive to be successful in this dunya. To be successful financially, yes, to have money. There's no problem in that. Do you know why? Because Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam told us this hadith. And this hadith is powerful. Very powerful. You want to take something from this lecture? Take this. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam tell us, Al-mu'min al-qawi khayrun min al-mu'min al-da'if. The mu'min that is strong is better than the mu'min that is weak. Strength does not only come in a person's body or physical strength. Strength comes in numbers, yes, but strength comes in what you're able to achieve and what you're able to do in the community. Even if that means with money, yes. If the only way or the best way to advance as a community is to invest in our community, then that is what us as a community, we must be striving for. And especially as the youth, my brothers and sisters. The dunya is only bad when we ourselves allow the dunya to deceive us and take us left and right. That's why Imam Ali alayhi salam, look what he says. He says, أَيُّهَا الذَّامْ لِلدُّنْيَا. O you who speaks down at the dunya, looks down at the dunya. الْمُغْتَرْ بِغُرُورِهَا الْمُنْخَدِعْ بِأَبَاطِيلِهَا. O you who looks down at the dunya, O you who is deceived by the dunya in its falsehoods. أَتَغْتَرُّ بِالدُّنْيَا ثُمَّ تَذُمُّهَا. Are you deceived by the dunya, then you come back and look down on it and swear at it and speak ill of it? أنت المتجرم عليها أم هي المتجرمة عليك? Are you the one that is being deceived, or is she deceiving you? Are you the one that's allowing the dunya to control you, or is it controlling you without you being able to make a choice? The dunya, the world, is only bad when the human being allows it to deceive them. But if the human being follows the guidelines that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in this world for us, then flourishing in the dunya is something that we need to do as a community. And here, my brothers and sisters, I want you all to listen to me for a second. I want you all to listen. We are all going to school. We're all striving to get a job. We all want to be successful in the different ways that we define success as. So success, to some degree, is subjective. To me, success is something. To you, success, it may be something totally different. We all define success differently, no problem. But fact of the matter is, human beings, they always associate financial success, money, monetary value, to success in life. If you're successful, you have money. That is what we understand success as, at least for the most part, for the majority of us. I tell you, my brothers and sisters, you going to school, make it ibadah, make it worship. Make money later on so that you can be the future of the generation. Make money, my brothers and sisters, so you can begin these projects that ultimately make us who we are. Let me tell you something. For us to say that money is worthless and we don't need money to practice our religion and to thrive as a community, we're kidding ourselves. Let's be frank with ourselves. We need to have a strong community financially to grow, because fact is, the lights in our mosques are not being turned down out of dua. We're not doing dua and turning on the lights. Someone is paying for that. Whether that's one person, 2, 3, 4. And it shouldn't be on 4 people. It shouldn't be on 5 people. It should be on the entire community. We have to get to a point, my brothers and sisters, where we are able to take out $100, $200 comfortably every month and put it down for our mosques. Put it down for these projects that ultimately are going to be giving us our identity, providing for our future generations, the Islamic identity in the West. These mosques, these Hussainiyat, these community centers that our parents have given their lives for, these are what gave us who we are, made us who we are. And I'm an example, my brothers and sisters. Don't go far. I'm an example. My family is an example. Our families are an example. We didn't go to Najaf. We didn't go to Qom. We were here, lived our lives here. We went to the West once or twice, or East, once or twice. We have communities that are willing to take us in. We have opportunities to grow as Muslims in this country, in the West. We must take it. When you go to school, when I go to school, wanting to become an engineer, wanting to become a dentist, whatever it is, put this in the back of your mind, that I'm not only coming to school to become rich for myself. I'm going to school to become financially stable for my community later on, for my people later on. And allow it to be ibadah, and allow it to be a drive for you, my brothers and sisters. And now I want to talk up to the overwhelming majority of our people today. And those are those people that had a goal, but they weren't able to reach that goal. Those that went into university, they began biology, mathalan. They wanted to become a doctor. They didn't get into medical school. So they find themselves working a 9 to 5 that they don't feel successful in. I tell those people, or people that went into skilled trades, mathalan. They want to become a carpenter. They want to become a welder. I tell these people, brothers and sisters, whether you're a doctor making $150,000 a year or a carpenter making $50,000 a year, don't lose your ambition. Don't lose your drive. Be successful and excel at everything that you're doing. Whether that thing is prestigious, like being a doctor, or not considered to be prestigious by the community, like being a mechanic, for example. Excel. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, رَحِمَ اللَّهُ مَنْ عَمَلَ عَمَلًا فَأَتْقَنَهُ. My dad always used to tell me this. My father used to always tell me this word. And I'm so happy that he told me this word. رَحِمَ اللَّهُ مَنْ عَمَلَ عَمَلًا فَأَتْقَنَهُ. May God have mercy on the person who begins something and completes it and perfects it. Are you a carpenter? No problem. Be a carpenter. Open up a shop. Open up a business where you build cabinets for people. And not just open up your own business. Open up a business that you can expand. Are you a mechanic? Practice being a mechanic for a number of years. Open your own shop. Then franchise that shop. Expand, my brothers and sisters. Expand. I had one person in the community come to me once. You're saying, Ahmad, I need a khira. I usually don't ask what the khira is for. If they ask for khira, I do the khira and I tell them, good or bad. But this person was close to me. So I said, what's it for? He said, Wallah, I'm taking mechanical engineering at X school. And frankly, I'm having trouble. And frankly, I'm having some trouble. I'm just, it's not for me. Studying is not for me. I told him, Tayyib, what's the khira for? He said, I want to quit and take, mechanics, or I want to become a mechanic. I said, hey, no problem. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Go and become a mechanic. Go and become Adi, no problem. Go and become a mechanic. It's not wrong. But when you put on your gloves and you're ready to start changing that person's oil, that's not what your job is going to be in 50 years. Your job in 50 years is that you have 5 or 6 different shops underneath you. And you're the guy in the office writing the checks. That is what you should be going forward for. That is your goal. That is what you're trying to achieve. That is the ultimate goal of becoming a mechanic. Don't just become a mechanic. Go for further. Go higher. Find a way to excel at even changing a person's oil. And have one of my friends that is like that. He's a mechanic, but he's constantly taking classes, constantly finding ways to better himself. He's ambitious. And he's making, well, alhamdulillah, he's making a lot of money. And that money he's putting back into the community. If you tell me, Ahmad, this is all great. Do you have examples? Give me an example. I'll tell you, here's an example. Don't go far. There was a person that lived in Medina. And that person is someone that you know very well. That was not only a businesswoman, a wealthy businesswoman. You tell me, oh, Khadija alayhi salam. I'll tell you before Khadija. Before you go to Khadija, there's someone else that you may know even more. Her name was Fatima al-Zahra. Sayyid al-Zahra alayha salam was a wealthy businesswoman at the age of 18. That is something we don't know about Fatima alayhi salam. She was a wealthy businesswoman. It is said Fatima alayhi salam, her and Amir al-Mu'mineen طبعا. Fatima alayhi salam owned a land by the name of Fadak. In Fadak, they used to grow in that land dates. And as you know, in Hijaz, in Medina, Mecca, the people used to eat a lot of dates. It was something that was normal part of their diet, yes? So Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima used to run this land, and they had ummal, they had workers, employees in this land. Do you want to know how much FedEx used to make for Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam? Want me to tell you how much it used to make? Let me tell you how much it used to make. When Rasulullah died, FedEx was taken away from Sayyidah Zahra by the first Khalifa. Do you know what he wanted to use the money from FedEx for? He wanted to fund the Islamic army. An army. Weapons, shields, armor, food, water, horses. He wanted to fund an army from the business of Fatima alayhi salam. The land of Fadak. He was going to fund the army with that. Hello, right now, if you want. While you're sitting, very quickly, go online. But how much does the Canadian Army spend a year? How much does the US Army spend a year? The US Army spends a month, maybe even a week, billions, not with an M, with a B, billions of dollars on their army a week. Imagine you have a business that is able to fund your army. How successful is that business? How successful is that business? Fatima alayha salam was a wealthy individual. If she took that money and used it for herself, but they gave it away. They gave it away. They gave it in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what we have to be. That's who we have to be. And that's how we become successful as a community. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi. This is what Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam teach us. As long as we are following the rules and the guidelines, be rich. Pay your khums, pay your charity, and be successful. Be successful. And no one is saying being successful is wrong. Rather, we have a hadith that comes and tells us being successful in this world, even financially successful, helps you in the world later on. Hadith from Rasulullah, Hadith Nabawi, where he says, إذا مات بني آدم انقطع عن الدنيا إلا بثلاث. When the human being dies, they are cut off from the dunya except through three things. علم ينتفع به. Knowledge that the people are able to benefit from. Like a scholar who writes the book. Like Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. If he intended that people use it for good in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then maybe Allah ta'ala will reward this person. No problem. علم ينتفع به. وصدقة جارية. A charity that a person pays in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that people benefit from even after they die. When you invest in the community by giving that money to the mosque, in the community, that is a sadaqah jariyah. That is something that you will benefit from even after death. And last one. وَوَلَدٌ يَدْعُو لَهُ. And a child that prays for their mother or father that has passed away. The generation itself, giving birth to a vibrant, progressive generation. Success in these three things: knowledge, charity, and the generation to come. There are some people that may have not had money, but they were knowledgeable. They were successful. Some people had money, and they gave that money in the way of Allah. They were successful. And then there are those that were successful, my brothers and sisters. They didn't have any of those two, or they didn't give those two at the very least. But they gave the last one. And that last one made them successful. Rather, they are the success stories. One of them is a woman by the name of al-Baneen. The mother of whom? The mother of the sons, the four sons. The sons of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. On top of them, on their head, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. The mother of Abu al-Fadl. The lady that Amir al-Mu'mineen married. Why? Why? So that she will give him warriors, so that they serve Abi Abdullah al-Hussain on that day. And what kind of warriors did she bring up? She brung up warriors that Abi Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam depended on, that fought for Abi Abdullah al-Hussein until they were killed. She gave him Abu al-Fadl, the moon of the tribe. The man who, if he stepped on the battlefield changed. Everything changed. And once he died, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, she gave him that. That's a successful woman. That's a successful individual. That is a person working towards success. And she is the woman that we're going to be remembering tonight, my brothers and sisters. And this night also signifies something else. It signifies, or it's the day that we are going to remember Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam arriving in Karbala, beginning the battle that ultimately was won later on. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein arriving in Karbala. Imagine Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam riding through the desert. Then all of a sudden, the riwayat say, the horse that he was on stops moving. He tries to make it move. It wouldn't move. The Imam alayhi salam gets off that horse. He gets on another horse. He tries to make it move, and it wouldn't move. The Imam alayhi salam gets on another horse. Riwayat say he changed horses several times. None of them would move. The Imam alayhi salam turned to his fellow companions and family members, and he said to them, "What's the name of this land?" The Imam knew, but he was trying to make them know, let them know what this land is. He said, "What's the name of this land?" And so they answered, تسمى أرض الغاضرية. It's named the land of Ghadiriyah. The Imam said, doesn't have another name. And so they answered, تسمى نينوى. It's named Nainawa. He said, doesn't have another name. And so they said the famous name of that land. They said, Tusamma Karbala. When he heard the name Karbala, his eyes filled with tears. He turned to Allah and said, Allahumma a'udhu bika min al-karbi wal-bala. Ha huna mahattu rikabina wa safku dima'ina. Oh Allah, I seek refuge to you from misery and tribulation. This is our destiny. Here we stop. This is the place where our blood will be shed. This is where our graves will be. My grandfather Rasulullah informed me about this. It's also said that Imam said to his family and companions, stop here, don't move any further. By Allah, this is where we will stay. By Allah, this is where our blood will be shed. وَهَا هُنَا وَاللَّهِ هَتْكُ حَرِيمِنَا. By Allah, this is where our women's honor will be violated. وَهَا هُنَا وَاللَّهِ قَتْلُ رِجَالِنَا. By Allah, this is where our men will be killed. وَهَا هُنَا وَاللَّهِ ذَبْحُ أَطْفَالِنَا. By Allah, this is where our children will be slaughtered. وَهَا هُنَا وَاللَّهِ تزار قبورنا. وهذه التربة وعدني جدي رسول الله. By Allah, This is where our graves will be visited. This is the sand that my grandfather Rasulullah promised me. It's as if the Imam says, حط الرحال فذا محط خيامنا وهنا يكون مصارع الشهداء. Stop here in this land. We will stay here, and on it our martyrs will lie. حط الرحال فذا مناخ ركابنا وهذه والله سبي نسائي. In this land, my women will be taken as captives. وبهذه الأطفال تذبح النساء تعلو على قطب بغير وطاء. In this land, my children will be slaughtered, and Zainab alayhi salam will sit on a camel with no shade. Tonight we also remember al-Baneen alayhi salam, the mother of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, the mother of the man who, when he came down to the battlefield, he would destroy the armies. How proud would she have been to see her son Abbas, to see her son Uthman, to see her son Abdullah fighting like his father. How proud would she have been when she heard her sons call Imam al-Hussain saying, Sayyidi ya Aba Abdullah. But I ask, how heartbroken would she have been to hear Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas screaming for the first time in his life, أخي يا حسين أدركني. Brother Hussein, help me, save me. How heartbroken would she have been to see Abi Abdullah al-Hussein pick up the right hand of Abu al-Fadl and kiss it as he walked to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas's body. How heartbroken would she have been if she saw the moon on the ground with his eyes shut and his head split into two pieces. Come now with me to when al-Baneen finds out about Abi Abdullah al-Husayn's death. It's said Bishr ibn Hadla enters Medina after the death of Imam al-Husayn. He goes to the center of the city and screams, يا أهل يثرب لا مقام لكم بها قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرار الجسم منه بكربلاء مضرج والرأس منه على القناة يدار. O people of Yathrib, leave the city. Hussein has been killed, so cry for his soul. His body's on the plains of Karbala, smeared with blood, and his head is on a spear, taken from city to city. After hearing the call, a woman holding a child comes to Bishr ibn Hadlam and says to him, يا بشر عندك خبر عن الحسين. He says, who is this woman that's asking about Hussein? He's told, this is al-Baneen. This is the mother of Abi Abdullah. This is the mother of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. So he says to her, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك جعفر. May Allah reward you with the death of Ja'far. She says to him, Ya ibn Hadlam, did you see me ask about Jafar? Tell me about Hussein. So he says to her, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك عثمان. May Allah reward you with the death of your son Uthman. She said to him, Ya ibn Hadlam, did you hear me ask about Uthman? Tell me about Hussein. So he says to her, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك عبد الله. May Allah reward you with the death of your son Abdullah. So she says, Ya ibn Hadlam, did you hear me ask about Abdullah? Tell me about Hussein. So he says for the fourth time, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك أبي الفضل العباس. When she hears the name Abbas, she puts her hand on her chest and says, O son of Hadlam, you tore my heart into pieces. You told me of the death of all four of my sons, but no, all of my sons and all of the people on earth are a sacrifice for Abi Abdullah. Ya Bish, tell me about Hussein. So he says to her, Ya al-Banin, عظم الله لك الأجر بأبي عبد الله الحسين. فقد خلفناه بأرض كربلاء جثة بلا رأس. يا البنين, may Allah reward you with Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. For we left him in Karbala, a body with no head. When she heard this, she screamed, Wa walada, wa Husayna, wa Husayna. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. والعاقبة للمتقين. يا الله, we ask you by Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, accept this majlis from us, Ya Allah. Accept our a'mal, Ya Allah. Forgive us for our sins, Ya Allah. Heal the sick from our community, Ya Allah. Make us successful in our community, Ya Allah. Make us from the supporters of Imam al-Hussein and the supporters of Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. All of us together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل. Let's recite Surah Al-Mubarakah Al-Fatiha للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والشهداء والعلماء. Before it, aloud, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli.
Thank you, Sheikh, for that enlightening lecture. And thank you, everyone, for attending tonight's session. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening at 9:30 p.m. And with that, see you tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you very much.
جزاكم الله خير أيدكم الله